Wait.
I'll begin soon.
Just open the door. I just want to confirm एक बार, Ritvik Bhaiya, what major are you doing?
I am planning on doing computer science and economics double.
Double major. Okay, so I'll start now. Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in to the JPI's fundraising live stream. This is a quick reminder for you to click the link in our description box below and donate to our COVID-19 crowdfunding campaign, which is in association with Give India, Uplift, and the Ujala Foundation. Now the school alumni will be introducing themselves along with what subject they're majoring in or plan to major in. You can start.
Hi, my name is Ishan. I'm a second year at the University of Chicago, and I am majoring in computer science and economics.
Yeah, I can go next. I'm Shreya. I'm a third year at U Chicago. I'm majoring in econ and minding in CS.
I'm Manhar. I'm a first year and econ again with possibly a specialization in data science.
Hi, my name is Ritvik, and I'm also a first year. And my plan right now is to double major in computer science and economics.
Hi, I'm Mika. I'll be starting college in the fall. Right now, my plan is to major in econ, but I don't know if that changes in the future.
For our viewers, U Chicago is one of the topmost colleges in the world for both economics and business. So we're very happy to have you guys here so you can answer our questions and those of our audience. So the first question that we have is about the way of life at U Chicago. How is the college aesthetic? Do you have time for yourselves? Or is the focus on academics too demanding? I think Manar Bhaiya can start answering this question.
So way of life, it's the life of the mind, well, the so-called life of the mind. And honestly, it's been fun. And specific to your question, it really depends on the person. Because if you're good with managing time and if you know how to dominate time, so you'll be able to have fun as well, and then you'll be able to focus on your academics. So I know people who are only focus on their academics. They're busy with their readings for soc, they're busy with classes and busy with PSATs. I do all of that stuff as well, but I try and find time on the weekend to perhaps go and meet Ritvik, go and meet Ishan, and just sort of hang out with friends.
I think Shreya Didi can go next.
Yeah, I kind of totally second that. I think as a first year, I was also, I don't know, super involved and wanted to kind of make the most out of college. So I think that kind of definitely takes up a lot of time. Whether that's like in classes, like Manhar said, or I think even like getting involved in clubs is a lot of responsibility. But I think like over time, definitely I've kind of tried to make sure that I get all of my work done during the week so that all of my weekends are free for like anything that I want to do outside, whether that's like, you know, just catching up with friends, or I think even just like, I don't know, other things outside classroom and even engaging in like clubs. So yeah, totally second what Manhar said.
So I read that the U Chicago follows a quarter system instead of the normal semester system. So can you explain, elaborate on what that is?
Yeah, sure. I can go ahead. So I think one thing, yeah, that's true. It's kind of distinct from other colleges where it's a semester system. So you're not following, I think, like 5 courses over a period of 6 months. Instead, you'll only be taking either 3 or 4 courses over a period of 10 weeks, which I think has kind of like its pros and cons. And I think everyone here will kind of agree. I think the pro main being that, you know, you're attached with a particular course material for a shorter time, so you get a chance to kind of experience more things in the same college period that you've had. But I think a con on the other side is like it feels like it's midterm week every single week, because even if things are, I don't know, placed differently, every class probably has some of the assignment due every single week. So it goes by pretty fast, and it also kind of feels like rushed a lot of times just because of that. Yeah. That's amazing. So this is just a follow-up question. What do you think of the university's campus as in the location and the university's tradition, as well as what are extracurricular opportunities it offers? So what are the 3 things you love about Chicago and 3 things you think you could be improved about? So this question is for Ishan Bhaiya.
Hi. So I think one of like my favorite things about like U Chicago is the campus. In fact, like the fact that like it's not that humongous, that large, is actually like something I really like. It's because that like if you're going from like your dorm to like the dining hall, like or to some other building, because like the campus is not that large, you tend to bump into like 7 to 8 of your friends just on the way. But if you compare this to like other like campuses which are like super like enormous, like Berkeley or like Stanford, over there like the whole campus seems so dull because you don't see like people around. They're all like either they're like in their like dorms, or like you don't see people on the move. So yeah, like campus for sure. Other than that, I feel like I think the location, like Chicago is a wonderful city, and our U Chicago is not like it's like south of central Chicago, so we're not like right in like central downtown where it's like super crowded and stuff. But like we're not that like far off also. It's like a 20-minute Uber for you to like reach downtown, and like you can do like amazing like stuff over there. And like the third thing which I like about U Chicago is probably, I think, like the people in general, like the whole community, like how even in your dorms, you have a very strong house culture. Even in your like clubs and RSOs, like the whole community is so well knit that you feel like you tend to grow closer to all those people over like a yeah, like even a short period of time. And yeah.
It would be amazing if Ritik Bhaiya could also answer this question.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, for me, Chicago, the city, was one of the big factors when it came to choosing what college I wanted to commit to. Because I liked U Chicago in itself a lot, but I was really grappling between U Chicago and Brown. And they're two pretty different colleges when it comes to their main identities. But other than that, as well, I was also very set on the fact that I don't think a lot of Indian students realize this, but a lot of the cities in the US, even though they're these big international cities that you've heard of and like almost the entire world has heard of, size wise, they're smaller than a lot of cities in India, just because India is so crowded and populated and huge. And yeah, for me, the most surprising thing was, in fact, that Chicago, even though it's the third biggest city in the US, is smaller than my hometown of Pune. And I don't think anyone outside of India has heard of Pune. So for me, it was important to understand that going to somewhere like Providence, Rhode Island would be perhaps too small for me as someone who's used to like large cities and meeting a lot of new people, being around a lot of new people. So that for me was definitely a consideration, and like that decision for me has uh, paid off, because I feel Chicago, even though we've been in the pandemic and a lot of stuff has been locked out, I've still had a chance to go around and explore the city a little bit. And even, I guess you could say, at like 10% of its capacity of what it has to offer, I'm already super excited for the next 3 years now that I get to experience it. So opportunities wise, it's all super cool. I've only been to a few areas downtown, but I still like there's a lot more to explore. Then if you look at it from a purely like academic and career oriented point of view, Chicago has a ton of great companies, law firms, management firms. So there's no dearth of opportunities when it comes to like having internships. Plus, in such a big city where your college is one of the relatively smaller sized ones in the US, it just helps leaps and bounds when you have multiple opportunities without like 60,000 kids competing for it. And other than that, three things I like about the campus, I would say, I think someone touched upon this earlier, but I think it's the perfect size. You always bump into 5 or 6 people that you've already met, and that gives you a chance to get to know them better. But also, it doesn't get to the point where it's like the kids at your campus are like the only people around. That's how it gets in some of the smaller town colleges, and that's definitely not the case here. Whenever you go around, you always see new faces, you always meet new people, friends introduce you to friends, and I think that's what college life is all about. And yeah, mobility wise as well, campus, I think the farthest points on campus are a 15-minute walk apart from each other, which is really nice. And the last thing I would say I like is that the culture here is pretty fast paced, I would say, given the quarter system. All the kids are pretty ambitious, as you would expect at a top college. There's a lot of opportunities. The university is pretty hands on in like a lot of stuff. The university is also pretty rich. So they try to do a lot of stuff and they get to do a lot of stuff that a lot of universities around the world can't do. So that ensures that it's just life is very fast paced. You have a lot of stuff to do. You're never bored. And yeah, I like to follow this model that someone told me about, which is like Monday to Thursday is when you work and Friday to Sunday is when you enjoy yourself. And I try to stick to that as much as possible. Although it doesn't happen all the time, sometimes Saturday nights are spent on problem sets and homeworks more often than I would like. But then, an odd Wednesday night is spent in with friends. So
So, Ishan, you talked about the house culture there, and if I remember correctly, Manan Bhaiya and Ritvik Bhaiya were friends when you were in school. So, do you not live in the same dorm building, or did you apply for the same thing but it got rejected? What happened?
I'll take that. So basically, for first years, you don't get to choose the dorm you're going to live in. You get to choose the format for the room. So it's either a single, either a double, or an apartment or a suite. So Ritvik's in a suite at Max B, which is slightly farther away from me, and I'm on the south side of campus at Woodlawn, and I have a single. So yeah.
And Ishanvi, if you could talk about the house culture of Shea because you've been there for a lot of time now.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think like because of COVID, like a lot of like stuff changed. Like when I was applying for housing, we could choose like which dorm we wanted to like live in, or like not like the type of housing we wanted, but like which building or like what locality, and like which dorm has a better house culture and stuff. So, but like I think because of COVID and because of like different, I don't know, like people just didn't like want to, like some people like just didn't want to be in a single, or like some people just didn't want to be in a suite. So they gave like different options. But talking about house culture, yeah, I think so in your like dorms, like you have in your dorms you have different houses, and basically like you like in your dining halls you have like house tables. Every weekend you probably have like a house trip, or like every once a month you have like a longer weekend long trip outside with your house. So all these like small activities like which they organize just like makes you like tighter with your house people. And then like it so happens to be that like after one your like the people in your house become your closest buddies. And like because you practically like living with them, like it's like the same thing as what it is in the hostel, where you're like practically like living with your people, your like best friends. So you just like tend to get tighter with them, and yeah, like your bond just gets stronger and stronger over time. But I think because of COVID, we can't have a lot of like in-person like house activities. So like that must have affected like Manhar and Ritvik's experience like in terms of house culture.
Yeah, it has for sure. So the activities you mentioned, like the trips and stuff, we don't have that. But we do have a chessboard, and we sometimes we end up playing chess. So yeah, but it's definitely there's definitely a strong house culture in almost all of the buildings. So yeah.
Yes, that's good to hear. That shows brotherhood at college also.
Yeah, also one more thing. I think you mentioned that why me, Manar, and Ishan didn't like used to live together, I think. And
Like you and Manor, we are
yes, yeah, my point is just that even or like why me and Manar aren't living together like right now, because I think that there was an option to like move into new rooms with like people you want to be with in the spring quarter, this quarter. But my answer to that would just be, and this is like general advice for anyone who's coming into college or is going to come into college in the next 1 or 2 years. When you already know people, like I already know Ishan, I already know Manhar, you know you're going to be in touch with them. So don't seek them out as the first people you'll meet. Try and put yourself in an, I guess for some people, for me, it's very natural and I like to do this, but for some people, what would be an uncomfortable situation, which is to like meet strangers or have like a new roommate who you've never met in your life before, who like the only contact you have with him before coming to college is like hopping on a video call with him. But I definitely think that is a big part of the college experience, because that teaches you how to like deal with people, make friends, meet new people. Because I know a lot of kids in U Chicago who come from some schools that have like 17, 18 kids who come to U Chicago every year. And those kids just hang around each other all the time. And although like it's 17, 18 of them, so it probably makes more sense for them, it wouldn't make sense for me at all, or Ishan, Shreya, Manhar, or if Mika's coming in next year, just to be like the four of us hanging around each other all the time. That doesn't help our college experience at all. Obviously, we don't want to like lose touch completely. We want to take advantage of the fact that we already know each other before coming into this unfamiliar situation. But definitely the best part about college is meeting new people who you've never met before. Whether it's people from India, it's people from the US, Europe, wherever they're from. Just try and put yourself into this uncomfortable zone where you're meeting new people and you're forcing yourself to meet new people.
to socialize basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think one thing that I'll probably take, I know much like more tangential, like a even farther direction is like even when you're in classes, I think like if you do know someone, I think it is kind of a tendency to probably, I don't know, form a team with them. I think that's been the case with me because I've been taking electives primarily this past year, and there's probably been like, teamwork or collaboration. And I think one thing that I've kind of tried to do, especially in COVID and like, being on Zoom and not being really able to meet people as much, is to not really seek them out, or like, again, the same thing that Ritwik said, that probably choose to have 2 or 3 unknown people in your team as well. So, because I think when you're virtually working on the assignments all the time together, that's also kind of a good way to probably like meet people and make friends. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. That makes sense. So, as we all know, that Chicago is very selective to get into. So, this question is to Mihika. So, what do you think made you stand out from other students? So, were they your splendid extracurriculars, or were there some academic achievements that you consider tip the skills in your favor?
So I think in terms of U Chicago, I mean, having talked to other people who got in as well, I think the essays are, I mean, I think that they're slightly more important than at other colleges, because out of every essay that I've read, even of other people who've gotten in, I've not read a single like bad essay. I think every essay is unique. And I mean, U Chicago is known for its quirky prompts. So I think those are really important. In terms of my application, I think in terms of the why you Chicago essay, I think I wanted it to be slightly different. Like I didn't just wanted to read like a normal essay. So I think because it's a longer essay than typically you have for other Y college essays, it's important to have like some central theme or central idea running throughout your essay. So what I did with my YU Chicago essay was I took a t-shirt, like a t-shirt caption, I think from U Chicago, which was that U Chicago is the level of hell that Dante forgot about. And then I took that and I reversed that and I talked about Dante's Inferno and the 9 levels of hell and how being at U Chicago might seem like hell to other people, but for me, it's my version of paradise. So I was really happy with that essay. And in terms of my quirky essay, I think sir and ma'am always recommend that you take a current year prompt, like this year's prompt, which you'll be getting soon. So I took the prompt about tongue twisters and resolving a conundrum through a tongue twister, and I took, I think you will probably have heard of the Peter Piper and Pickle Pepper's tongue twister, and then I took that, and then through my essay, I attempted to resolve that. So yeah, I think the essays really worked in my favor.
So if I remember correctly, Shreya Didi, you went on a 100% scholarship, right? So what do you think enabled you to not only get into U Chicago, but get into U Chicago with full aid?
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be like a duplicate copy of what Mehika said, that the essays are super important. I think this is again, like, really unlike other colleges where the essays are probably the major focus. And I kind of like did work in admissions office for a bit at U Chicago. So I think what I've heard is like, again, kind of reinforces that essays are the most important thing because they really set you apart. And like when prompts are super quirky or like really focus on, I don't know, make you think for a week, I guess, as compared to other essays where you can probably just have one and then switch it into a template for different colleges. So I think that's probably not applicable to U Chicago. So I think it was probably the same thing that my essay worked for both the things. I wouldn't say it was double the stronger or anything. I think it's just the essay, or your perspective and like what you think is the best way to put in is what really worked. Yeah.
And what about your extracurriculars, except for academics?
I think extracurriculars again, I think that they're again like these specific to one person and like what they are interested in. I had something more leaning towards entrepreneurship when I applied, and that was something that I was interested in. So like really activities that back that up, whether that was like inside classroom, like taking I think business management, or whether that was like outside classroom, a couple of things that I was involved in. But again, like I think it's really hard to say that one thing will work and the other won't, because it's really about putting the best of what you've done or like you're interested in and kind of backing that up. It is almost kind of like a research paper where if you want to say that, okay, I'm interested in economics and I want to pursue that, it's really upon you to say that these are the 5 reasons why I really think that I really like economics or like would like to pursue it further, which I think again is something that U Chicago really appreciates, that really supporting your like why you want to do a certain thing at a certain university. Yeah.
Great. That was very intriguing to hear. My question is, even now, nearing the end of our school years, a lot of us are indecisive about a major to finally pick in college, and most importantly, to commit to. So, what is your suggestions about the process of picking the major, as it is a huge undertaking and emotionally strenuous as well? We will start with Manar Bhaiya, and it will be followed by Ratul Bhaiya.
So I'm not sure I'd be able to answer that question too well because it's only my first year of classes. But the process that I have sort of identified for myself, of course, after advice from both Shreya and Ishan, is that just choose classes and have this prospective major in mind. So for me, it has been econ. It was standard econ. Now I'm leaning more towards econ with a specialization in data science. So just take classes related to that major, get done with your core requirements first year, and then you'll gradually, as you progress into your second year, you will have that idea that this is what I want to do for sure. So, like, for example, right now I have two math classes. I have linear algebra and math methods and social sciences. I'm enjoying both my math classes. And this is the math that I will be using for elements in econ, which is an econ class I'll be taking next quarter. So I know for sure, like, I will enjoy that class because I'm enjoying the math right now. So as I progress into my classes, I would have that idea that this is the major that I want to do, and then finally, I will declare.
It will be really great if Ritvik Bhai answers that question.
Yeah, I guess I could answer that question a little bit better than Manhar, because I think Manhar had always been leaning towards econ since we started like 11th grade of high school. I had always been a big CS guy, and sorry, like a big computer science guy, and that had been my entire focus, even when I was applying to colleges. And like, even though Chicago and other universities don't really require, first of all, you don't need to worry about that if you're applying to universities like Chicago, your major, because a lot of colleges have gone down this path where your major doesn't really matter when you're applying, because you're not applying into a major program. It matters at a lot of STEM schools. So as a STEM student, yes, you sometimes have to make that decision early on, which is what I did. I made the decision for computer science early on. But as the application process went on, depending on what college I was applying to, sometimes my decisions changed. Some places I applied computer science, some places I applied for computer engineering. So it just depends really what college you're applying to. Some places like Chicago and Williams College, Brown University, it really didn't matter what I was looking at. Like, it was just like a preference that I was indicating to them, and they didn't really care about that. And yeah, other than that, I think it's just as your life goes on, you'll understand what you want to do. Like, the decision for me to do econ is one I made even before I committed to Chicago. My college, when I was going through my college selection process, I decided I don't only want to do CS, because I don't want to get into a pure like coding job, because I realized that isn't me. I did an internship in like 11, after 11th and before 12th grade, like summer internship, which was 1 month straight of 9 to 5 coding and debugging. And I realized that that life isn't for me. So as like your life goes on, you understand what you want to do with it, what you enjoy, what you don't. I've realized that through my high school, through internships, when I was making the selection process, I've realized I like the world of business, finance a lot, but I still want to stick to computer science and technology, because that's been like a childhood passion of mine, and I'm also very good at it. So for me, the most sense for me was to do a double major, because that's like the logical path. It's a very helpful path. On a very real note, for Indian parents, it increases your employability by like the maximum you can possibly have. Like a CS Econ degree gets you a job, I think, almost anywhere you want. So in all senses of the word, it just turned out really well. And for now, I'm only a first year. This is what I think I want to do. You never know. I might drop CS completely. I might drop econ completely and do like CS and math. It's a very fluid process. So I don't think you need to emotionally stress yourself right now about it. Don't worry about your major. Just go with what you're feeling right now. And trust me, there's always time to change, and there's always time to reinvent yourself. I know people who've graduated with CS degrees who are now working in the healthcare field. And you can always change career paths. You can always change the industry you want to work in. It's just, you go to college to build a foundation for your networking and your learning experience, and to show companies that you can learn and you can be a valuable asset to them, irrespective of what position they put you in and irrespective of your degree.
So a follow-up question I have on that is that you're doing a double major. So how do you think that affects the amount of like how busy you are compared to someone who's just doing a single major?
I think how busy you are really is not, how busy I am is not a factor of my double major. It's a factor of what those two double majors are. And unfortunately for me, at U Chicago, CS and Econ is probably a very rigorous path. I think there are few double majors other than CS and Econ that are probably that like time consuming. But the flip side of that is that I enjoy both of these things immensely. So what might be a burden or like a big time consumption aspect for other people, for me is just working towards and working with stuff I enjoy. Like I can code for an hour and a half, 2 hours straight, and I don't notice that I've been doing that because I enjoy that process. And I can like read econ articles and economic principles, case studies, and not notice time go by because I enjoy it. So it really depends. Like even though I'm doing a double major, there's a major at U Chicago called molecular engineering, which is like a very niche major that U Chicago has that they're like the best in the country at. That's one degree, and kids in that degree probably have more of a workload than I do, which sounds hard to believe, but it is very true because I've seen it in firsthand. I sometimes nearly don't have nearly as much work as a friend of mine who's doing molecular engineering, because it's just the different types of classes he has to take for that one major are more consuming than like two classes I have to take for these two separately. So it really depends. There are majors at U Chicago like theater, and it's not a knock on theater majors, but obviously the work involved there is very different from molecular engineering or CS or econ. So it really depends. You can have an intense workload attending what you or other people might construe as a party school, but I know there are people at like Clemson and Rutgers who are doing pretty difficult majors. So it's all individual. Your workload is individual, uh, and yeah, it depends really on what you're doing. A double major is definitely not a impossible or like a very like genius kid thing to do. It's just about what you enjoy, whether you can manage your time or not, and if the college like allows you to do it.
It must be very challenging to flourish in such a high stress environment with rigorous studies. So, as a young student away from home, probably for the first time, how do you deal with all that? And like with the COVID-19 right now, how do you deal with failure or like that loneliness? I think Ishan Bhai, if you could answer this question.
I think you cut out for me. Can you repeat that one sec?
Sorry. Yeah. So being away from home, how do you deal with, challenging in such a high stress environment? And also, what are your 3 tips with dealing with failure?
Oh, deep question. Um, so yeah, I think over here, like the whole sense of community really like helps you to like whatever like just keep your like just helps you keep going in like a linear fashion. It's like just being with your friends, being with your like your close friends always like helps you like de-stress, or like just helps you not take stuff too seriously. um and I think for me it's been like at U Chicago, you're like the Indian community, it's like it's not that big. But and like for many people like being around Indians like feels home. But like at a place where you like rarely have like over 12 Indians per batch, it seems like sometimes like scary being in a place like where you have no people from your uh, hometown. But you soon like come to realize that like everyone's in the same boat, everyone's doing like equally hard classes. Like if I'm doing CS and econ, my roommate is doing some other like equally challenging course. So because like all of us like see each other like just like pushing ourselves to the limit, it like just like seems to be like a big equalizer where we all like suffer and like just like enjoy in pain. And yeah, I think like just being together, seeing that we're all in the same boat, like seeing that all of us are equally driven and passionate to like push ourselves to the limit is a great feeling, and like which keeps us going, and like also helps us like whatever counteract with failures. And yeah.
Definitely being in a community really helps. So Shriyati, what's your view on this? Okay, I was so engrossed in Nishant's reply that I've forgotten the question. So can you repeat the question? Yeah, it's like being away from home. How do you deal with high stress environment, and what are your 3 tips for dealing with failure? Yeah, I think, I mean, kind of starting as a follow up to what Ashant said, like, again, yeah, the Indian community is definitely very, very small as compared to even other colleges in Chicago itself. And I think that can be intimidating to some people, but I think right now, if I was to probably name 5 people that I'm the closest to, they would probably not be Indian. So I think it really doesn't matter. Like, I think it's actually like, in another way around, it's a better thing that you're getting to know many different cultures and like many different demographics at the same time. And I think being put into that situation is actually forcing you to actually make friends outside of people you could have had exposure to. Otherwise, I think in terms of like, the loneliness, maybe probably being affected by COVID-19, I think it is definitely a huge thing. One thing that I have definitely tried to adapt a lot is I think just from the nature of my classes, I've tried to take a lot more collaborative classes instead of maybe individual preset based or like individual assignments, so that it's not just me working on an assignment at midnight, but I do have a group of people who are also motivated on the same thing. And I think that has also kind of helped me achieve a lot more. For example, if I'm working on something like a 10-week project of building something in, whether that's an economics elective or like, something in the CS, because I just started my CS minor. So I think from that perspective, that definitely really helps, because there is a group of people you have to rely on just to get the work done. And that kind of forces you, or like, in a good way, like helps you stay with some people who will be available all the time, because you have to be responsible towards each other. I think in other aspects, what I've tried to do in COVID, especially when I've come back since Jan and things have started to like open up a bit, is try to, like, again, as Manhar and Hrithik said, take out weekends to like explore Chicago. And primarily, like, maybe the food places, which I think is like a huge thing in Chicago. Being able to experience those things and like meeting a friend each weekend or like each week is, I think, a good, like, seems like a, I don't know, a way to keep in touch, but it definitely effective, because at the end of the day, you feel like, yes, I've met someone throughout the week in person, except just like, I don't know, sitting on a Zoom call all across the day, attending classes, or like even doing your assignments. So I think that's something that's definitely helped, but that is, again, I think an answer more in the context of COVID-19, I guess. Yeah.
Ishan, you said that there are a lot of Indians there in Chicago. So, are there any Indian clubs, or do you celebrate Indian festivals, or how is Indianism celebrated there?
Like we have like less Indians. We have some Indian club. Like we have the South Asian Association, the SASA group, and like I'm pretty sure like all of like every Indian is in that community and a part of that group, because like they all host, like, I mean, all your like big festivals like Holi, Diwali, and yeah, like all these like, even like some pujas and stuff. They have some of the other celebration or some of the other event happening, um, which will like just like remind you of home, and like just yeah, like make you feel more connected. And yeah, like they also give you like good like Indian food. Sometimes for Diwali they'll somehow arrange like firecrackers or like fuljaris or like some stuff. And yeah, so you have like some Indian groups, you have Indian dance clubs, you have the Bhangra team, um, which, if you're good at dance, can join. And you have like annual shows uh, where you perform Bhangra, and you also, I think, go for some competition, and you compete with other colleges. Um, Also. So like you have like some Indian community, like some Indian clubs for all of us. Yeah.
What about Indian food? Like, do you get like kachoris or something in your mess?
I think once a week, or like their menus change like weekly. So I think once a month they sometimes give you like chole and mutton. At least they used to give that to us. And but like around campus you have like restaurants which like you have like Indian restaurants which you can go to if you're like really craving some butter chicken or something. So like you have some stuff around here.
On
Like
campus?
yeah, on campus. Yeah.
Yeah, like on Saturdays, they kind of forced you to like not eat on campus. So the dining halls are closed, especially as a first and second year. So they have like, I think, contract with Hutch, which is kind of like on campus essentially. And Hutch has like one specific Indian place in there. So you definitely have an assured option at least once a week.
Yeah.
And like, do you have to work on campus or do you do part-time jobs, like minimum wage jobs? Do you teach students stuff? Like, you need to work or is that only optional?
You don't need to work anywhere, but you can always like pick up part-time jobs. Like you can work in a cafe, or you can work with like another professor as a research assistant. So you have like different opportunities. Um, but yeah, like it's always good to have like a small part-time job, like in the background, like so you can just use that to like use that for your like really finances and uh, yeah.
Do any of you do a part-time job on campus? Or do you?
Yeah, I guess again, you definitely don't have to do a job, but I have, I mean, I don't know, not most of the time, but I've had 2 or 3 quarters out of the time so far that I've worked. This quarter, I'm working as a teaching assistant for a booth professor that I took a class with last year. So that's kind of a part-time job, but I think that's a little bit more on the interesting side where you're getting to see the other side of like, the classes where you're actually grading or like helping prepare information, but also getting paid for it, which is, I think, kind of a plus. But yeah, definitely not, I think, more of the traditional part-time jobs is probably working in the library or maybe, I don't know, working as a barista or something.
Okay, that was pretty helping. Okay, so do you all have any tips for students aspiring to attend U Chicago in the future? Like what would increase the acceptance rate or what would make the college life much easier or comfortable? We will ask where Mihika Chen first.
So I think, I mean, there's no one-step formula for to increase your chances. I feel like at any top university, because I think something might work, something might not click with. I mean, it's very relative. I think with U Chicago, again, essays are important. Um, Standardized testing, if you can get a score, I feel like that's important because even though, I mean, it's optional at U Chicago, but I feel like if you can get a score, then it's always like a perk or like it adds to your application. In terms of activities, again, I don't think there's any set formula. You should probably do what you like and try to do as much as you can in, like, if you're interested in sport, then try to, I don't know, play a sport at national level or something like that. Yeah, but I don't think there's one thing that's going to increase your chances. I think combined, it might work, it might not work, but yeah, try to make everything as good as possible, I guess.
Okay, amazing. It would be really great for Manar Bhaiya to throw his wish.
So no particular advice as such. I would just second what Mihika said. The essays, they play a major role in getting in. And something Ayuso told me a few days after I got in was that I was almost rejected because of my SAT score. I had a 1530. And that particular year when Ritvik and I applied, they rejected 48 people with a perfect score on the SAT and 72 people with a perfect score on the ACT. And I was shocked. And what sir told me was that I got in because of my YU Chicago essay. So the essays, they play a major role in getting in. So definitely focus on your essays. And by focusing on your essays, what I mean is that just be yourself. And if you portray who you are on that particular sheet of paper, then you will get into the university where you fit the best. At the end of the day, it's all about the right fit. So that's pretty much what I would say. Just be yourself and be out there. So yeah.
Okay, pretty helping. That can be followed by Ishan.
Yeah, again, like I had like second what Manhar and Mika said, that essays play like an enormous role in your application. Like even when I applied, my like test scores weren't that high, but like when I got my acceptance, because I applied in the ED round, so they like send back like small hampers and like in general, like just like talking about your application. And like the one thing they mentioned in that, like they like also send like a small letter saying that, oh, like what all they appreciated about your application. So in my hamper, like they only like spoke about my quirky essay, and they were like how different that was from like other people and like how original that seemed. um so yeah, again, like so your essays like should project your story, your personality, and shouldn't like just seem that you're trying to like act cool or like act fake. uh, so I think yeah, essays play like an important role. And apart from that, I think your extracurriculars should show that you're willing to take risk, you're willing to like take on responsibilities, um, like that are beyond what your school expects you to do, that can like just make you stand out. So I think essays and extracurriculars would be my take.
Okay, Shreya Didi, do you have anything else? Any tip more? Anything?
I am probably going to sound really repetitive, kind of the same thing. I think I would probably go even far saying that I think my U Chicago, the quirky one, worked better than probably the common app essays, because the same thing that happened with Ishan, that the package that comes after you get accepted, they only referenced things or like the metaphors that I used in my quirky essay and not really on like focused on the other things. So I think I definitely believe that, like, even more than the why you Chicago or the Common App essay, the one that really gives you like a more of an essay or narrative like option to kind of like explore a topic instead of maybe just like talk about your personal self or why you're interested in U Chicago, is I think probably one of the most important ones that that really matters. Yeah, I think that was probably it. And then yeah, again, like I think it is kind of a catch that they've made their test scores optional, but I think at the end of the day, it is better to show that you can like you've actually done well in those tests instead of just like relying on the optional part. Because like now it's like I think this is something that I learned in econ, I guess. I don't know if these guys will also probably learn it soon. But like one of the professors was like, the fact that they've made it optional, it's kind of the same thing as making something like a box in one of the job applications optional which says, have you ever been arrested? So not asking that question kind of raises a concern on every single applicant that maybe they would have been arrested, but we haven't asked that question. So I think it's the same thing that the fact that they've made it optional, it kind of raises that question on every single person, that like what would their score would have been on a standardized exam. So if you can kind of prove that wrong by having something to supplement it, is I think again like a super plus for sure.
Yes, thank you. That really, it makes us understand what we have to do and what we don't have to
Okay, so thank you all for a precious time.
Just one sec. The one thing that all of them did not talk about, which is like the only thing I think that differentiates them and me, is that they all applied early. And I think Shreya as well, I'm not sure, but I think everyone else everyone else other than me applied early. So that is definitely a big, not like a big boost, but like if you think you're a borderline student, there is an advantage to committing to a university early. Like I'm really, really lucky that I got in RD, because I think as far as the unofficial numbers for U Chicago go, the RD acceptance rate is like 1.6% or 2%. So U Chicago is really big on the fact that they like to accept people early. So definitely, if you think U Chicago is one of your top destinations, you should be smart, like, and just like apply ED1 or ED2.
Yeah, I guess one thing on the same thing. So I applied early action, but I think one thing I'll say is like, even if you're not decided or don't want to commit, like, with early decision or like early decision too, I think this is kind of a great option that U Chicago has, and probably very few universities too, that you can like still kind of have the option of applying early and show your interest, but not have to like fully commit or bind to it by just like doing EA. So I kind of recommend this as a general practice, not just like specific to U Chicago or anything, that if you have an EA option for any university, you should, because it's just a matter of like 30 days, and just turning in that application early is like can probably change a lot in that time period.
And it definitely takes a lot of stress off if you get in early, because like you have options. Because when my early did not go well at all, that also sort of made me work hard for my RD, but it's just an added layer of stress that a 17-18-year-old does not need in his life. And apparently you guys are already under a lot of emotional stress when it comes to majors. So definitely look into applying early, and if you're sure about it, definitely you can go ahead and do ED. Not only at U Chicago, but like in general at colleges, EDs always have a higher acceptance.
Okay, those were really, really precious advices. So thank you all for the invaluable time. Hope to see you soon. And thank you for tuning in the U Chicago edition of JPI's fundraising live stream. This is a quick reminder for you to click the link in our description box and donate to our COVID-19 crowdfunding campaign in association with Give India, Uplift, and Ujala Foundation. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.